We are now joined by State Assemblyman John DiMaio, who is the Assembly Minority Leader, which is another way of saying he's the leader of the Republican Party in the lower house. Good to have you with us, Assemblyman.
Great to be here, Steve. Good to see you again.
You got it. Assemblyman, what's the biggest concern you have about the anchor property tax relief program that Governor Murphy and the Democrats passed in the last several months?
Well, Steve, I guess I would rather have seen something more permanent. This is never ends up being a permanent thing. We've seen rebates over decades eventually shrink, get whittled down, and evaporate like a rainstorm in the desert. That's probably the biggest thing here. We had offered up some suggestions on things that were a lot better. The tax brackets in New Jersey, income tax brackets, haven't been indexed for inflation since 1996. The federal government does this each year. If we were to index for inflation back to the year 2000, it's about a 68% difference. Married couples would save, making $110,000 a year, would save about $1,600 in taxes. A single earner at $70,000 would save $1,000. And this would be permanently baked into the tax rates and be a long-term, what we feel to be sustainable solution to this. If you think about it, the anchor program is not a law. It is simply in the budget language of the current fiscal year's budget. And the other thing that really has us concerned is this doesn't come this year when inflation is running pretty rampant in the country. Fuel prices have settled down for now because the president is burning up a million barrels of the oil out of the strategic reserve. We'll see how that acts after that's done, and we have to replenish that supply. But the reality is there's no real relief for people now, and there's nothing that's sustainable in long term.
Switch gears. Let me ask you this. The state legislature, along with the governor, and I know how you voted on this, as it relates to Roe v. Wade, legal right to abortion, which the United States Supreme Court overturned in that historic and important decision. When the legislation was up to codify Roe v. Wade to protect a woman's right to a legal abortion in the state, you voted against that effort because?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, full-term abortion is a heinous act. And there are a lot of pro-choice people that I know that do not like this. I think that there could have been a more acceptable path, maybe something in the middle of the road where there were limits on time, with the exception, of course, health of the mother.
What about rape? What about rape?
Rape and incest could be part of that as well.
You believe it? So you believe if in fact a woman is raped, a victim of incest, or her health is at risk, that she should be able to get a legal abortion in the state of New Jersey and in the nation, just to be clear?
Yeah, that would be a more acceptable bill, Steve. I mean, the way this is, it is very difficult to even envision a full-term baby. I have an 8-month-old granddaughter and a
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm getting older. And a 3.5-year-old grandson who, when you see today's ultrasounds, you could literally see the baby. I mean, when my kids were born, it was this blob of, I couldn't see anything, but now you can see the baby. And, when you see that, it would make it really difficult, except for extenuating circumstances or some really difficult things that brought you to the pregnancy. There could have been a more modest approach to this, but there's no way I could support the bill the way it was.
Let me ask you this. While this is not a state public policy issue, it is a larger issue. As I asked this, our graphic Democracy at a Crossroads, we have a mini-series we've been doing for many years that looks at representative democracy at very difficult times. Would you characterize, or how would you characterize those who attacked the United States Capitol, the insurrection, if you will, in the effort to stop the verification of the vote in the 2020 election? How would you characterize those who assaulted and attacked the United States Capitol that day?
It was wrong. It was wrong, pure and simple. You don't act like that. We have the right to go anywhere. If people want to stand outside the State House with signs with my name on it, they hate my bill, whatever. perfectly within reason. Even when they were outside of the building and they were doing their protest, I have no problem with that. Everyone's entitled under the Constitution to express their opinion, but it was an absolute breach to enter that building that day, and some of the acts they have were totally wrong.
And when former President Trump says if he were elected again, he would pardon all of them, your view on that?
That's his opinion. I mean, I can't, if he were to be elected. I mean.
But you disagree with that?
I think that laws were broken and we're a nation of laws.
Let me ask you something. You've always struck me as the word reasonable is ridiculous. You're just a very civil, respectful legislator who has differences of opinion with people on the merits. No rancor, no anger, no whatever. There's a problem in our nation in so many levels. Why do you believe that public discourse, not just among elected officials, but among people, have gotten so divisive that we can't even have a conversation just because we have different points of view, Assemblyman?
Well, listen, just recently we swore in a new member on the floor, and I was there to witness it. Unfortunately, one of my wonderful friends and colleagues, Assemblyman Dancer, passed away, and a new member was sworn in. And part of what I told him the other day was make friends with everyone, Democrats and Republicans. The reality is what we talk about is not personal. There's nothing personal about issues. It's business. I mean, there's a business of, we believe that we would have smaller government, we'd be taxing you less, we'd be out of your pockets and out of your lives, and you less regulation for businesses to make the world flow better the way we believe the Constitution was made to be. And the other side sees it differently. It's not personal, period.
It's not personal, is it?
End of subject. It's not personal, not at all.
And name calling has no place.
No. And I think that if you watch, and we've been putting on a pretty tough, floor mission this year. We've been putting them on notice that we're going to point out policy issues, and we're going to make them accountable for their votes. That's our job. We're the minority. We're a growing minority too, I might remind everyone.
And one issue you may agree on with the folks on the other side of the aisle, childcare, accessible, affordable childcare being a very important in our state, particularly regarding our economy. Our series, Reimagine Childcare, the graphic is up right now. We need to deal with that directly, do we not, Assemblyman?
Obviously, something needs to happen. A lot has changed. I've two daughters that are 35 and 31. When we put them in preschool or childcare, it was a lot less expensive. I don't know what drives those costs so high, but certainly it is important in today's society. The majority of families, unfortunately or fortunately, for the income and better lifestyle, require two-income households, and it's something that we need to look at. But hopefully, it's not more expensive as a result of government.
I knew you were going to get that in, Assemblyman. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Assemblyman, I really appreciate you joining us, and as always, engaging in an honest and civil discourse. We appreciate it, Assemblyman.
Good to see you, Steve.
You got to stay with us. We'll be right back.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Choose New Jersey. NJ Best. IBEW Local 102. Veolia. New Jersey Sharing Network. New Brunswick Development Corporation. Englewood Health. And by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State. And by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by CIANJ and Commerce Magazine. And by Insider NJ.
It only gets better when we stand together to tough